Hello everybody, welcome to Improving English with Professor Rich. In this video I'm going to talk about improving comprehension. Unfortunately, the first part of the actual video was lost because I made an error when recording it, although the video will start shortly. I just wanted to begin by introducing the topic and saying that comprehension is quite a difficult skill to improve because it's something that in our native language is actually a passive skill. It's something that happens automatically. However, we have to somehow improve that skill in our second language, and at first we have to do that with some kind of intention. Now, improving a passive skill is very difficult because you can't simply repeat the action again and again because you're using comprehension. It's passive. You need material. You need to be watching or listening to something that you can actually understand, and that's how you will improve that skill. So now the first part of the video is going to start. Now, one of the biggest myths that you hear with regards to comprehension is that you need to start watching films in English films, as soon as you can, and that you should watch as many of them as possible and this kind of thing. And interestingly, people start to give this advice to language learners when they're at a basic or intermediate level. Now, in my opinion, that's complete nonsense because actually understanding a native film is incredibly difficult, and it's not possible whatsoever for someone with a basic or intermediate level. Even with an advanced level, it's still quite difficult to understand what's really happening in a native produced film. And in fact, if you can watch a film from England or America and understand 95% of what the characters are saying, then really you don't need my help because you actually have a fantastic level of English. We're talking easily C2, the proficiency level. If you can understand 95% of a film, congratulations, your language learning is complete. So if you're like the rest of us who are studying a second language and you find it very difficult to understand a native film, then you need some other methods to improve your comprehension. So, in my mind, there is a basic hierarchy of difficulty of different kinds of media that you can use to improve your comprehension. Now I'm just going to talk about this hierarchy now. For me, the very easiest thing you can do is to watch media, that is films, series, whatever, YouTube videos, for example, with subtitles in Spanish. Now, although this is quite easy and someone at any level can do it, even at basic level, of course, because you can read Spanish, and seems like a good idea, the problem with this is it has very little effect on your English learning. In fact, you learn almost nothing by watching videos with Spanish subtitles. You could watch English films with Spanish subtitles for 15 or 20 years and maybe learn about 100 words. Now that makes this method next to useless, in my opinion. So, okay, if you want to watch English films for fun with Spanish subtitles, okay, that's good. It's better than watching it dubbed with Spanish voice actors, that is for certain. However, don't expect that it's going to magically improve your English because it's not. Okay, so the next most difficult thing you can do is to watch media, films, or series with subtitles in English. Now, this does have some uses. This can really help you to learn new English vocabulary, and also it requires a great degree of concentration to continue reading the subtitles across the bottom of the screen and understand what the characters in the film or the series are saying. So this is much more preferable to the previous option for improving your comprehension. Unfortunately, this method also doesn't do very much for actually understanding what people are saying. It does help you improve your vocabulary and your reading, but in terms of associating the sounds with the meaning of those verbs, again, it does almost nothing. And I mean almost nothing. You could watch films for many years with English subtitles and your English would improve, but at a very slow rate. And that's not the kind of rate that we're looking at. We want to see your English improve in this kind of way. And for that, we're going to need to do something else, okay? So the next thing that you can do, okay, is to try educational videos. Now, educational videos are very good for a few reasons. One, because they're interesting. You're actually learning something else while you learn English. And two, because the people who speak in educational videos speak a little like I'm speaking now, like they're trying to teach you something. For that reason, people tend to speak a little slower and they tend to use words that you can understand more easily. So that makes watching educational videos quite useful for learning English. Where can you find educational videos? Well, one place is on YouTube. But also there's some very good internet websites out there. There's one called Coursera, that's C-O-U-R-E-S-A, and on that website you can register for free university courses given by professional professors at those universities. And if you were to take something like this up, then it would be very helpful for your English learning. And you get to learn something else on top. So if you're interested in psychology, you can learn about psychology. If you're interested in philosophy, you can learn about philosophy, etc., etc. Okay, on top of that, these courses tend to have a Spanish section on the forum dedicated to that course, where people talk about the language they didn't understand and they translate certain parts. So that can help you with any problems you have. I think that educational videos are really a great way of improving your English. Okay, after that, I would say, and this may be a little controversial, I would say that cartoons are the next most difficult thing for learning English. So I don't know if you like cartoons or if you think, oh, cartoons are for children or whatever. I have found some cartoons that I really enjoy in Spanish. Those two are Phineas y Ferb, that's in Spanish. In English it's Phineas and Ferb. And another one is Adventure Time, La Hora de Aventura in Spanish. And I love watching those cartoons in Spanish because I can understand everything they say, and they say things with a lot of emotion, which is useful for my Spanish, because one thing that's very difficult is getting that emotion into your language when you're speaking a second language. So for me, cartoons are an excellent way to improve your language. But maybe that's not something that everyone wants to do. Maybe you think cartoons are too childish or whatever. But for me, I absolutely love watching cartoons in Spanish, and I think it's a great way to improve your second language, and it's easy to understand. Okay, then finally we get to serials or series. These are good because with series, you can watch watch an episode, and you become accustomed to the characters, and you get used to what they do, who they are, the kind of things they say, their accent, etc. And that means that the more you watch a series, the better you become at understanding those characters. Now, watching a series is actually a lot more harder than people tend to think. And in fact, I would say that watching a series is really quite an advanced thing to be doing. You need to have a really good level of comprehension before you can start watching a series in English and really get a benefit out of it. If you're not understanding 75% or more of what is being said, then really it's not worth your time to be watching that particular thing. You should find something easier. And finally, the most difficult thing that you can do, that you can watch to improve your comprehension is films in a native language. Films are really difficult, and when you get to watching films in a native language and understanding what's being said, then you really have a fantastic level of comprehension. Okay, and at that point you're going into proficiency territory, as I talked about before. Okay, so that's basically all I have to say. Thank you very much for watching. There will be some notes accompanying this video, and I hope to see you soon. And I have nothing more to say. Okay, see you soon.